thank you all so much for joining us today on this session on patient pre-check-in. I'm very excited to be the PCCer that gets to share more about this amazing feature with you. I would assume most, if not everyone in the room, has not yet gotten your practice set up with pre-check-in, but hopefully we have some cheerleaders in the room too, of people that might already be using it that can share their experiences. But today, let's just jump right into the slides. For our session today, we're going to review pre-check-in features, benefits and limitations, account management, best practices and challenges, how to implement pre-check-in at your practice, some of our frequently asked questions, as well as a little client feedback. And I would love throughout, if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. We have a mic. I can repeat the questions. Similarly, for our virtual attendees at home, hi virtual people, we'll be keeping an eye on the chat, so feel free to put a question in there as well. Or if you're in the room and you don't want to talk out loud, I get it. Yes, so this session. So without further ado, what I thought we could start with today is just doing a pretty simple demo going over what you're going to see within the patient portal, what your parents and families will see as portal users, as well as what you'll see once the information comes back from the portal user and your staff has to do the import process to get the information into PCC. So I'll just jump out of my slides here, and then if I jump over here into our test patient portal, I have a couple kiddos that I've set up here just for the sake of example. We've got Bobby Builder, we've got Bonnie Builder, and we've got Billy Builder. We also have Becky Builder, but I guess she didn't make it on here. That's okay. So we'll show a couple different examples for those that are familiar, probably everyone in the room, with the patient portal. Here we are on the patient portal home screen. In this example, I'll be playing the role of the parent of these little kiddos. And we'll show a couple examples here, starting with Bobby, sort of what we call the happy path, which you may see with most of your families. They have all their information on file. There's nothing to update. They're just going in, confirming, making sure everything's good to go. The second example we'll show, Bonnie will make a couple changes and see what that looks like when the information flows back in from pre-check-in into the EHR. So jumping right in here, we can see we have this beautiful orange button for Start Pre-Check-In for our first patient. So when we jump into this screen, you'll see you have 3 collapsible sections here. With this initial version of patient pre-check-in, we started with the patient information, the billing account information, and the insurance information. So when the parent comes in here, they have the option to review the demographic information that is on file. You'll see these fields here do mirror what you have in the EHR. So we always like to point that out just because these labels reflect what is in your account demographics. Some practices have, primary, secondary, mom, dad. A lot are moving away from mom, dad just because of complex family situations. But we can show that everything is good to go here for Bobby. We're just going to confirm billing account information. We do have information requested here, so I can throw in an email address there. Actually, I think we can skip that. That's actually a good example. We are not requiring information as part of pre-check-in. You'll see that if there is a blank field where the practice is asking for information, it will indicate it in this orange information requested. As you probably know, orange is the PCC color for action is needed, something needs to happen. So within here, we can throw in an email address. Nobody commit this to memory. Just kidding, you can email me whenever you want. Confirm. So that billing account section is confirmed. You'll see on the right-hand side here, you have those very satisfying little green check marks and no insurance on file. So for sake of example here, we can go in. What we're gathering is just the name of the insurance policy. There's really nothing stopping your families from putting more information in here, but you'll see that when this information comes back in, we can take a look at what that looks like. But I can just, Blue Cross Blue Shield. At this point, the portal user is prompted to either attach a photo of the card image, or if you're on your phone, you're prompted you can also just take a photo from your phone. So we can just do a little fake example here, my Geico card. Should have done the alien Lynn. Missed opportunity. All right, save. And now that I've added that here, we can also confirm. So I'm just saying, yep, patient information, billing account, insurance, everything is ready to rock. We're gonna submit. And then you'll see under Robert here, pre-check-in has been submitted. And who did it? That's me. Bridge Builder, the mom. So for Bonnie, might be similar to our example for Bobby actually, because I did make a change. But you'll see in here, because these demographic fields are blank, similarly, we can go in and we can just, for sake of example, select a few demographic items. We're gonna confirm. You know what? I think Bonnie needs a nickname. Bon Bon. Yes, they need to know that her nickname is Bon Bon. All right, billing account, same deal here. We can jump in. It wants my email. We had to make a quick little change before this presentation, so my test accounts are not exactly how I wanted them, but it's okay. Confirm and submit. So we can see here, I've submitted for both patients. If I jump into the EHR, we can now see on our schedule screen, you'll see these clipboard icons. Dr. Dobos?
Did the insurance card come across for Bonnie also? Because you kind of zipped past that. The insurance card that you uploaded for Bobby, was that in there for Bonnie too?
I don't think it is yet, because I've just now completed the pre-check-in for Bobby. So we have to do the import step first. I think at that time, and we could look at it as an example, I think we have the option to add to siblings. But yes, you'll see on your visit status button here, you have the clipboard icons. When pre-check-in is enabled, you'll see these little clipboard icons. That basically indicates the status of pre-check-in for you. So you can see a green clipboard is going to indicate that it's completed and imported and ready to go. That was my intention here with Bobby, but we can just jump in and complete that, and then I can show you what it looks like. So if we click that visit status button, or if I go right back to the schedule screen, we can also go to good old patient check-in there on the bottom. But if we jump in here, this is going to take us into the pre-check-in, the patient check-in protocol, and part of this is patient pre-check-in. So you'll see in the pre-check-in component, on the left-hand side is the current information within PCC, and on the right-hand side, you have the information that the portal user has submitted. So within this step, you really should do your due diligence of looking over what information has been supplied to you just to make sure it's accurate, just like you would be when your families are coming into the office and confirming information. If I don't want any of this information, I can simply just uncheck one of these items here. The orange is indicating that that is new information just supplied to us through pre-check-in. So we can check or uncheck what we want to include or not include. You will see just an interesting little thing. If we've been provided 2 new pieces of information and we say, I don't want either of those, you'll see that that import button just changes to decline. It's basically just saying, nope, nothing's changed, I don't want this. But from here, because we added a new insurance policy, we can jump in, we can view that image. If we want to import it, go ahead and import. And then it's going to tell you on the top of this section that it's been imported and who the user was with a date and time stamp. You'll also see on the bottom there, pre-check-in and who submitted it and when. That's nice just if you're going back to check your work and you're like, oh, I didn't do PCI for that patient. Who was that? You can kind of go back and check your work. So once we're ready to go here, you'll see the policies component is now orange. Because I've imported that new information provided in pre-check-in, it's now prompting me, hey, you've got a new policy that came through via pre-check-in. We are using existing functionality in the policies component. So it's pretty simple. It's going to tell you that there's something to do. I can jump in here and I can look at that document that was provided. It's a really nice way for parents and families to provide you the insurance information so that they don't have to type 123 XYZ long policy number. Just tell them to shoot you the card image, and then you'll have both the image already on file. You won't have to do the scanning or copying at your front desk, and then you've got all the policy information just to add in right here. So we can just kind of throw something in here for an example. This is going to be an attachment on the policy, as well as it's going to live within your documents section in PCC for this patient. So if we save, yep, there we are. So it wants to do the sibling action there. So we can do that if we want. Sure, why not? They're all under the same account of Bridget. So we can go ahead and say, yes, I do want to add that policy. Absolutely.
So I see how you're reviewing, like when you're attaching the insurance card. Sorry. I see how you're reviewing, is this on? How you're attaching the insurance card so that the employee can go in and input the insurance information. But how do you know who's the subscriber, their date of birth, place of employment? Because I didn't see that that was an option when the patient or parent was doing the pre-check-in process.
I don't think it is. I think that currently it's just the fields that we see here. Name, address, home phone, cell phone.
Is that something that has come your way, like a request?
Potentially. I'd be happy to look and see if there's an open enhancement request for that.
Yeah, because that's like really important for us to
Subscriber
know.
name, subscriber date of birth.
And
Those
place
are the big
of employment.
place of employment. Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to bring that to our pre-check-in team. We've had a lot of
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a lot of really good feedback from our beta clients, just those types of things like, we really need this. And this being version 1, we wanted to get this feature in your hands, so we're certainly looking at making things better. So I like that suggestion. That's a good one. It's important. You gotta have that info. Any other questions? Yeah. Thanks, Lynn.
Do you know if they have set up for reminder texts to go out for pre-check-in?
Yes, we will go into that a little bit, but the way that patient pre-check-in works right now is you'll see that orange start pre-check-in button available in the patient portal 7 days before the scheduled appointment. And then the linked portal user, so whoever is set up as the linked portal user for the home and billing account, or as an additional recipient for pre-check-in, they'll get a notification 48 hours before the appointment based upon how they've signed up for the portal. So they'll either get an email notification or that SMS, depending on their sign-in. But that works really well for if you're using Chattis. A lot of our practices that are using both pre-check-in and Chattis, because the Chattis notification goes out 7 days in advance, kind of works naturally that parent logs in to do pre-check-in, they do their Chattis or their reverse. All right, back on the schedule screen. So now we can see we completed that import. So now this little clipboard is green. That would also appear just if everything had confirmed, there was nothing updated, it was all good to go, it would reflect as green. But just for another quick example, so you can visually see that again, we go into patient check-in, and then we have the same here for Bonnie. There were a few those changes that we made, so we can keep these selected. Yep, I want to make sure I update all of this information today, and we can go ahead and import. Yeah, same thing. It's going to give you that date and time stamp. What else did I want to show you? We had a couple examples. The other example that I just wanted to mention, and we'll dive into this a little bit more in our slides, but with pre-check-in, you control which visit reasons you want to trigger a pre-check-in notification. So just in this example, we have Billy on the schedule coming back in for a 48-hour recheck. Mom and Dad just did pre-check-in 2 days ago. So if he's coming in for a recheck, we've just set this within our visit reasons that we do not want this to send a pre-check-in notification. Kind of annoying to ask over and over and over. Obviously, you want to ask it for well visits and if they haven't been in the office for a long time. But you may find, for follow-ups that are just happening after another visit, visits of a more confidential nature, things like that, you may just want to set that to no. So no notifications go out and the portal user does not do pre-check-in in the portal. But you'll see for Billy in this case, if we, I don't want to open his chart. I actually want to go to the visit status. You'll just see in here for patient pre-check-in, not applicable for this visit reason. So it's just saying it's set to no for a recheck. The only other one really that I wanted to mention was Becky. And it was throwing me off before because Becky, maybe I didn't assign her account. That must have been what it was. The only other thing I was going to mention was the age-based privacy. That does affect things a little bit as far as if the patient is above that age-based privacy age, parent can see them in the portal as, yes, this is my child, and they have a portal account, but cannot complete pre-check-in or see any of their medical records. Yeah, question?
If they have a signed release, can the parent pre-check them in?
I think if we turn the age-based privacy off on a case-by-case basis under the patient portal management, then yes. As long as your home and billing account is Bridget Builder and the portal account is Bridget Builder, and you link those together, which is, I can show you where that is in here. Within your demographics and your account demographics. So we have this person assigned as home and billing account, and then we also have her linked here as home and billing accounts portal user. If she was not already linked, you'll just see an add button just to denote who you want to be linked to this account. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, so let's, I think, just jump back over to my,
I have a question.
yeah.
If you do have an age-based thing in there, right, is the parent able to do the pre-check-in?
They are not.
They are not.
If, say for,
Somebody that's HIPAA, whatever, no.
say for example, in here, my fake practice, I have our patient portal age-based privacy is set to 18, and Becky here is 21. So if we jump in here, I don't think yes, it's not connected, but I believe it would say not applicable. Let me just, yeah, age-based privacy is enabled, something like that, yeah. Here we go. Patient is not on link. This is the add button that you would see here. Yes, that's me. All right, we'll just skip that for now. But yes, exactly. Similar to you cannot access records when that age-based privacy is enabled. Cannot do the pre-check-in.
One thing that I have noticed that people should be aware of is after you import, because we do our pre-check-ins at the beginning of the day, just to go through, you should always hit save.
Yes.
Some people hit save and check in, and you have somebody checked in for 4 or 5 hours before they even get in. You know what I mean?
Yep. So Jimmy is just mentioning that rather than doing the save and check in, if you're just doing your PCI or pre-check-in first thing in the morning, just making sure that things are imported, you can use the save button just to save the changes that you've made rather than changing the visit status completely. But if you're doing this at the time of patient is in front of you, you can go ahead and use that save and check-in button. That's a good tip, because then you don't want to.
Good tip. I do it all the time.
Yeah. And then your MAs, your nurses are like, where's the patient? Not in the building.
There's a few questions
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
our virtual attendants. So first question is, if a child is covered by both parents, does it give them the opportunity to upload both cards?
I think let's just do a little example here. Throw another appointment on the schedule. Oh, no, that's not what we want. We'll book her in next week. Why didn't it like that, Lynn?
You did it for next week
Yeah.
with 7 to 8 days instead of 7?
Oh. Bonnie's just going to have a lot of appointments. Bonnie's a very busy kid. We'll do it for tomorrow.
That's for tomorrow's the 19th. I think you did the 25th.
Oh, I thought, oh, silly me. One moment, please.
Or something. Saturday. It's okay. Saturday will work.
We'll do Friday. We're not making the provider come in on a Saturday. After hours codes, weekend codes. All right. Third time's the charm.
Or not.
I'm confused. Let's jiggle the handle a little here.
So go to tomorrow's schedule on the schedule screen. So you can see it. It's not expecting one because of, oh yeah, there it is. A quick one. Yeah, it's weird.
I think without showing you the example, I believe you can do 2 insurances. I wanted to show you that magic, but I think it would just be the screen that we viewed before. You add the insurance, the image, it will send you back, and then it will prompt you, add insurance. Kayla?
The only thing I would say is when they do primary secondary, I would double check and make sure that they're actually right.
Yes, she just said just make sure primary, secondary, just double checking which one is primary, which one is secondary. Good tip, thank you. Yes, so back into slides here. So some benefits of doing patient pre-check-in. You're going to see increased accuracy of demographic data entered into the EHR. Really, the goal with this was to gather this demographic information from the best source, the patient or the parent. You'll find reduction of time spent in your waiting room. Theoretically, as you said, if you're doing it first in the morning, you've got all your green check marks, you're ready to go. That will be less time spent at the front desk and in the waiting room for your families. This helps with reinforcement of the patient portal as a tool for communication for your practice. Just the more that we can encourage parents and families to use the portal as a tool for communication is awesome. And I think just naturally with them doing pre-check-in and being in there more often, you might find that families get more comfortable with messaging or, viewing their records, all the cool stuff that you can do in the patient portal. As I mentioned earlier, less time spent scanning insurance cards and attaching those to patients. Oh man, this is a big one. I have not been with PCC that long, but I have been in your offices, and oh boy, that is a pain point and just like a big headache. I also remember myself from working at a front desk that to go over to the copier and make the copy and walk back and scan it, or you have the card scanner. This takes all of that out of this process. It's coming right from the portal user into the EHR, so it really does cut down the time spent on those types of things, which hopefully will allow for more time for other tasks and projects for your front desk staff, whether that's recall, organizing stuff at the front desk, whatever projects you're working on. You know, less time on entering that demographic information because it's just flowing in, and less time on insurance transcription. Dr. Yukika?
Is there any data on cutting down no-shows by using pre-check-in because it's another reminder? And second part of that question, if somebody with Medicaid pre-checks and then doesn't show up, but they checked in, does it change what we can do for billing them for a no-show?
I don't know your second question, but I did have some feedback from a client who literally said, we never hear, we didn't know when our appointment was, because it's right there in the portal, they can see it. They mentioned that it did significantly cut down on their no-shows just because people are able to more easily access their appointment information, even more so than, oh, I have to call the practice and, you know, add to your call volume. I'm interested though in that Medicaid question. I think the answer would be no, but I mean, right. They're showing the intention.
For Medicaid.
Yeah. Yeah. Good question, though. I like that question. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's okay.
So one of the things I didn't see, and maybe it's just Kimberly but I didn't see a place where they could pay their copay or pay towards
Oh,
their
I totally
balance.
breezed right past that.
Okay.
Yes, I had that set up. We
Did
had.
you go over it? Maybe it's just me.
No, it wasn't you. It was a Jolie thing, not a Kimberly thing. We had to change around our patient examples before this, so I failed to, I don't know if my practice has balances enabled, but as long as your practice has the balances enabled in your portal configuration and for that specific portal user that you've said, yes, I want Bridget Builder to see the balances, when they complete pre-check-in, that last screen, they're actually gonna see make a payment or pay at the office, 2 blue buttons on the final screen. Make a payment allows them to make a portal payment for any outstanding balance. Pay at the office is just like, don't tell anybody, it's like a fake button. It's just gonna take them back to the home screen, but we're not giving the option of how do you wanna pay? It's like, please pay or pay at the office. So yes, it'll prompt them as long as it's set for your practice, set for that user, and if they have an outstanding balance, they'll be able to make a payment.
Okay, you said only if they have a balance, but if it's a copay situation, is there not an opportunity for them to pay that copay?
I don't think there is, no.
Actually, I talked to Erica about this.
Yes, that's a big one.
Yeah, so while it
It
doesn't
is.
ask them for the copay, that doesn't mean they can't make a payment. Okay, so if they know their copay is $10, even though they have a $0 balance, they can still pay $10.
Which would then result in an account credit that could be applied.
Correct, as their
Yeah.
copay. Which is what happens in your office when you post a copay, it's a credit. No. But they can always post a payment even if they have a $0 balance. A lot of clients did it during COVID for contactless copays.
Ah, yes. There's a question right here, Lynn. Thank you. My mic runner.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't get to ask.
So we're currently not doing pre-check-in, and I just wonder for those that are doing pre-check-in, when the families scan their cards into the EHR and you verify and attach it to their account, do you guys require that? Because so currently we require that they show their insurance card every time they come in. Mm-hmm. We scan it every time they come in.
Okay.
That doesn't make them happy, but that just ensures that we have the correct insurance
Yeah.
for every visit.
Yeah.
So if we're scanning, so for pre-check-in, you have them scan their card in there and it's in there. But if they come in, I don't know, with a sibling, let's say, and we don't have it set up for like a sick visit for pre-check-in, do you run into issues with, or do you even require that they show you a card for like a sibling if they've scanned in for, a previous visit?
So if there are siblings like that have an appointment on the same date, a portal user will receive multiple pre-check-ins, a pre-check-in for each sibling.
Okay.
Which we've had some feedback about. People love the sibling functionality in the EHR, so would like to see that sort of mirrored in pre-check-in. But I think the thought there being mixed family situations, not every kiddo shares the same insurance, that sort of thing, that each one should be done individually.
Okay.
If that
And
makes sense.
does anybody else in here require a insurance card at every visit? No, you don't? Yeah.
I don't think it's unheard of, for sure. You're just trying to get paid. It makes total sense.
It's a billing thing. And so it was just that, sometimes insurances change and then you find it after the fact, right? You do the billing and then 60 days later we find out that the insurance has changed. It'll say it's eligible, but then you'll find out that's not. Yeah, so, yeah, we get a lot of pushback on that.
You could, as far as if your practice gets set up with pre-check-in, you can have pre-check-in notifications go out for each visit reason. So as I mentioned before, there might be ones that you want to turn off, but if you want to be, I want to ask for the insurance card, I want to ask for the demographics, no matter what, every kid, every visit, you can do that. Any other questions? All right. So benefits, we went through this here. Jumping into some limitations. So probably a couple items that we were just covering. Families with multiple patients, so siblings coming in on the same day, they are going to receive pre-check-in notifications for each patient. Pre-check-in fields and information requested cannot be customized at this time. I was chatting with someone earlier, Jennifer, here in the room. We were discussing potential for SOGI information and if that would make sense to be something to incorporate into pre-check-in. So we're always taking feedback on what would make the most sense, what you're looking for, like what information you need to gather. Some things might be more sensitive confidentiality-wise, but if there's something that practices are looking for, we can certainly look and see if it would be a reasonable thing to add into future versions of pre-check-in. Phone numbers might pose some challenges if you are a practice that uses letters after your phone numbers. I know some practices use like MC, mom cell, DC, dad cell. When that phone number comes back from the pre-check-in user, it's only going to give you numerical values. So if you have been referring to DC dad cell, when that comes back in, it'll just be no letters at the end. You always have the option to uncheck that item. So say, for example, it was 555-1234 DC. And then when it came back, it's 555-1234. You can just uncheck that phone number if you want to just keep your original with basically the label, the letters in it. We also, as client advocates working with practices getting set up on this feature, we kind of encourage potentially moving away from that workflow of using letters in those fields. You do have your custom fields in the account demographics that could potentially be repurposed for, primary phone name, secondary phone name, that sort of thing. Jim Leahy went into that a bit this morning in his talk about patient notification. It was a little more in depth. There is no special functionality at this time for offices who assign a policy of uninsured. So if you're adding a policy that's self-pay or uninsured, that will appear for the patient portal user within their insurance. So that can cause some confusion just because it's like, my insurance is self-pay, what? I have to add a card. So that's just a consideration as far as what your parents and your families are going to see in the patient portal. The notification time frame at this time is not customizable. As I mentioned before, it's that 48 hours before the appointment, but it is accessible 7 days out from the scheduled appointment. They just aren't notified until 48 hours before.
I have a question. And now, the person that is notified is the person that is in the home and billing account?
Yes.
Am I correct?
You are correct. Let me just jump in here just to show you. We also have within our demographics, account demographics, you'll see within a more recent release. So within here, we want to make sure we add the portal user. So now we know that's linked up. We can unlink it if we don't want it there. And then we also have the pre-check-in recipient. We can, if there was another portal user, there would be a little drop down here where I could select another person.
And then both will get it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And they can log in and, say for instance, both parents are doing it at the same time, it will indicate like started by Bob or started by the other parent, so that they know if they've started the process. Dr. Dobos?
If the 21-year-old has their own portal account, can they be the person who is the additional recipient? And then they can
Yes.
check in for themselves.
Yes? Yes. I'm like looking at my source of truth over here.
But why aren't they their own billing account?
Yeah,
at
that was gonna be-
18 and older.
They're still on their parents' insurance.
That has
Until
nothing to
26.
do with their billing account. The insurance is insurance. You can put the parent as the insurance subscriber. The patient should be their own billing account, right? Am I making that? Only if you don't do the subscriber right. Yeah. I'm just saying, most people will put the 18-year-olds on their own account, and the parent will become the subscriber on the insurance with the parent's address. No, you just make them home account as the parent. Siblings are based on both accounts, not one.
Okay, so we're having this big problem, so we're doing something.
We should talk. Yeah. Yes. You do lose your billing history.
Right,
I agree. Okay.
but it's more of an issue with the way we're doing it.
We should talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
No, you're good. Thank you. That's all good conversation. Let's see. Yeah, notifications. Families with patients marked as privacy enabled cannot pre-check-in, which we touched on before. As far as each state is different, your age-based privacy age, however you have that set in your portal configuration. Yeah, so this goes into a little bit about the account management, sort of, Judy, what you were just mentioning about your struggles with the account management. We recommend creating a home and billing account who's going to receive those notifications. So the one that's linked to the home and billing account, the second parent can be made a personal contact. Consider whether to include the phone number as a part of the home and billing account, and additionally, they can be listed as an additional recipient. You just have to set up a portal user for whoever wants to be a portal user and then assign them as an additional recipient in that drop down. Ampersand and slash accounts, the linked patient portal account name will be overwritten to match the name of the billing account. This may cause some challenges when sending portal messages. We just mentioned this because sometimes there are those Bob and Bridget Builder, or the slash with two names. As Anissa, as you mentioned, it can cause some serious problems, so exercise caution in changing the billing account, given that the account's billing history cannot be migrated easily, so it certainly can cause some issues. Moving billing history requires deleting the charges under the old account, posting them to the new account, or merging them together. So definitely, if you're having trouble, if you're using pre-check-in right now and you're running into roadblocks, feel free to come chat with me, or I can always connect you with your client advocate, because that's certainly something that we can help you with. Yeah, so with implementing pre-check-in, there are some prerequisites that we go over with practices. I always joke that like it's so much like legwork ahead of time, just making sure it's all set and ready to go, and then when you turn it on, it's like, pre-check-in, like this is so helpful. So just making sure that you're using the appointment book, which I think now 100% of our clients are. Almost. That you're using patient check-in, which is just the patient check-in in the appointment book on the schedule screen, that you are utilizing the patient portal. We like to review the current workflows that you're using. So if you are using letters in the phone number fields and just talking about either moving away from that workflow or choosing to not import those numbers if they come back with the letters stripped away. Your notifications is something to consider if your practice is using Notify, depending on how many notification runs you already have set up for appointment reminders. You might think about adjusting that. There's a cost associated with Notify. Pre-check-in, it has the built-in free 48-hour notification. So I know I've worked with some practices who they're using Notify 2 days out. They're like, oh, well, we'll change that and we'll do 4 days out or a week out and just use the 48-hour, the notification that goes out 48 hours before, sort of just like as an added notification. Sort of changing the, the frequency or maybe even just looking over what you have set up for within Notify, broadcasts, phone calls, whatever you might be doing at your practice. Eligibility, so just looking at what you're currently doing for checking eligibility in the EHR and making sure that's part of your pre-check-in and check-in process. And then configuring pre-check-in, so looking at those visit reasons and making sure you have the ones set to yes that you want turned on so that portal users will get those notifications. And then one other detail is just your insurance card document category. So when those images come through pre-check-in, there's just a spot where you set what folder you want them to flow into within your documents. If you have an existing insurance card folder, you can use that, or when pre-check-in is turned on, I think it's pre-check-in insurance card, a new category is created. I find most practices like to use their existing folder just because that's the folder they know and love for insurance cards. So if it's not broken, don't fix it. So jumping into some of our frequently asked questions, how do we make sure our billing accounts have portal users? This is a big one just for your workflow when you are scheduling patients. I usually encourage practices to utilize the patient details box. That's the box that will pop up. You can set it to pop up when you're scheduling in the appointment book. You can also just access it when you're scheduling. But really we encourage practices to make it part of their flow so that either within patient details and or within pre-check-in, that you're thinking about these components, what order they're in, and that we always say make sure you've got your account demographics in there, your patient portal users, so we would want to add that in here, and then also your pre-check-in recipient. So that when you're scheduling appointments, that's on the front of mind. Your staff is going to be doing that anyways. What's your name? What's your date of birth? Are you a new patient? Checking all that information. So kind of just integrating the portal into that process if you're not already doing that. So when you're scheduling or when you're talking with folks on the phone, just making sure that you are utilizing like the patient portals component within patient details and or patient pre-check-in. Why does portal user data not automatically update the EHR? So why does your practice have to do that import step? When we worked with practices during beta testing, a lot of the billing staff was like, pump the brakes. This can't automatically update in the EHR. That is scary. We need to look at it first because to have clean claims go out the door, you obviously need accurate demographic information, accurate insurance information. So we found feedback from clients was really, we want to look at it first and give it the okay and then import it rather than having it just automatically. Automatically sounds amazing, but also frightening depending on what information you might get in the portal. Why don't we require certain data? So those fields, when you're completing pre-check-in, there are no required fields, just because we did not want to basically block the submission of pre-check-in. They can fill out as many demographic fields as they want, but we didn't want it to be like, oh, they have to fill in 111111 junk phone number or something that then you're having to, comb through. We wanted to make it so they're providing you accurate demographic information that you can use. The clipboard icons, why do we display the same icon blank when pre-check-in is not done when there's no portal user? Again, some feedback from our beta clients. We wanted to sort of limit the number of colors, icons, to make it streamlined and make sense. And I think the thought there was that's basically the same thing. We have to follow up with the family. Either they haven't done their pre-check-in or they need a portal user. So either way, maybe you'll give them a call to get them set up, or you'll do that when they come into the practice. So the blank sort of just indicates follow-up is needed with the family. No data yet, or follow-up is needed. Yeah, question, Dr. Spencer.
Can you run reports on why pre-check-in didn't work for people?
You can, what can we do? No, we can't. There is not, I always think of the self-scheduling, with portal users. You can check and see who has portal users, who does not. There is currently no report in the report library, but I know what has also come up is, and this seems a little nitpicky, but checking your schedule screen to see what's reflected on that visit status button. So kind of using that visual as far as green, done, good to go, imported, orange needs to be imported, blank, either no portal user or follow-up is needed. Why can't I edit the policy while viewing the insurance card? So that little window is called a modal window. So you cannot edit the policy when you're viewing the image, which we understand is a pain. And I think our team that oversees pre-check-in, for this initial version, they were not able to work it into the release, but I know for a fact that I have had that feedback from some of my clients. So if that is a big one for your practices, let us know, because we want to make pre-check-in work as smoothly as possible. What is next? Why does the orange pre-check-in button display 7 days before the appointment, but the notification goes out 2 days before? Sort of what I said before, the orange start pre-check-in button is available 7 days out. The thought there being a lot of our practices use Chattis. Chattis goes out 7 days before, so it was just sort of a natural fit that it would be accessible and available for the superstar parents that might go in there and do it ahead of time before they've even gotten the notification. How do I improve the percentage of portal accounts linked to billing accounts? Similar to the first item here, we would just really encourage you to always be checking when you're scheduling, checking that patient portals component, checking and making sure that it's linked up. So not only that you have the appropriate account assignment, but also that you have a portal user linked to the home and billing account. And that's just workflow stuff, due diligence of your staff, making sure that the components are set in the order that makes sense to them and work for them. So if there's something that you want to update, or if you have questions on your check-in workflow, you can always chat with your CA. What is the logic behind why some fields are orange? I think the logic there is, in that section, all fields except for the middle name, nickname, and suffix are orange when they're not filled out. We didn't make the middle name orange because that's not a field. Not everyone has a middle name. So again, we didn't want to make it so they have to just put in no middle name, filling in junk data for you to get through pre-check. And we want to make sure you're getting accurate information. What else? In the account demographics section, all fields except the second line address and phone numbers 2 through 4 are orange when not filled out. So basically we want one phone number. We need to be able to call you. We did not make the second line address or phone 2 through 4 information requested orange. We felt one phone number to reach the person was reasonable baseline. Yeah, so making it so we're not blocking the submission of pre-check-in. What happens if a practice has text in the phone number field? We talked about this earlier. If they do and it comes back in through pre-check-in, those letters are not going to be there. So you can just, within that pre-check-in, you can just choose to, you can just uncheck it. So, that's right, this patient did not have it done. But you just uncheck the little checkbox. Let's see. Is there any input that we specifically disallow? This is a thing. We do not allow carrots in the patient and account demographics field. They're disallowed in those fields because it makes things funky. I don't know, Lynn, do you have more PCC things to say about that? Doesn't work. Which a carrot is like the little up arrow. I'm not sure why anyone would put that in a, yeah, shift 6. I don't know why anyone might put that in pre-check-in, but carrots, C-A-R-E-T, not the food, are not allowed. What are the rules for insurance card on file and insurance card expired? So in discussing insurance card images with our beta clients, it was noted it might be annoying if we continually ask for a card. Totally get it that you do that because you want that accurate insurance information. So we determined when you are completing pre-check-in, if there is a policy on file and it says card image on file, we define that based upon if there is a policy on file, has at least one image attached, and that image is in the configured folder for the incoming insurance cards, and the date added to the EHR is less than 1 year old, then it's denoted as there is a card on file. So the thought there being, if it did not meet those parameters, then the portal user would be prompted to provide a new card image.
Can a parent, when they're checking in, see their prior insurance card?
Yes, they can see the policy and they can see, it will say card image on file. They can't see the image itself, but they can see what you have in the EHR. Yeah. What about policies called no insurance or other non-policy entries? We kind of touched on this earlier, that if you do have self-pay or uninsured listed, families will be able to see that. So that's just a consideration when you're getting set up. Could be a little bit confusing for patient portal users, but I think that's a common way that some of our practices document uninsured or if they're self-pay. How do you handle administrative non-visits and confidential visits? So we would just recommend within your visit reasons, just setting those to no. You have the option to turn it off so that any linked patient portal user does not get a pre-check-in notification. Yeah, if they're confidential in nature, you might want to use that just to prevent notifications going out. A good thing to be aware of is that the visit is still going to display in the patient portal if the patient is not privacy enabled. That's just a consideration if you have a confidential type, like a visit reason. The parent will still be able to see that appointment in the patient portal. How do you, oh, we just did that one. Why do I have a checkbox with blank data? If the patient portal user wipes out, like they highlight and delete data while they are completing pre-check-in, that is going to come through to PCC, and the EHR user could potentially import that. We do have a known bug where if they click to add insurance and clicking back, it will save. So that's just something to keep in mind, that if you're seeing that you've been provided new information through pre-check-in, but the field is blank, it's just an item that you can uncheck and not import. more than likely a patient portal user error. And how come I can't revert an appointment to scheduled that I accidentally arrived? That is for clients using Chattis. If you're working ahead on the schedule and importing data in pre-check-in and you accidentally hit save and check-in, yes, exactly what you mentioned before, instead of save, I don't know if this has impacted you with Chattis, you'll not be able to revert the visit status due to the Chattis orders. So that is just another item to consider. We have some amazing resources on PCC Learn. We have a couple awesome articles that help you to prepare, configure, and then it's an educational article on pre-check-in. We also have some awesome videos. Feel free to reach out to anyone at PCC. Your client advocate can help you get on board with pre-check-in. I think that's it. Please give us a little review in the app. Any other questions? I think just to end here, I'd like to just share a little bit of client feedback. Lily, the office manager at South Sound Pediatrics, she shared with me they've been using pre-check-in for several months now. She shared their practice it's been super successful for them. They've definitely seen the reduced workload at their front desk, improved patient convenience. She also mentioned this to me, which I really had not thought of. They've had families acknowledge how much they appreciate the patient privacy that pre-check-in brings. They have some families that don't want to have to say their mailing address at the front desk every time. It's sensitive in nature for them and they don't want to share it out loud, and they just feel like it's an awesome feature to be able to do it ahead of time. It's all set, you go ahead and sit down, which is a huge item, but something that I had not necessarily thought of, and getting clients set up on this, that it kind of supports patient privacy while in the office. The improved efficiency, and they were the practice that shared the increase in reminders has significantly reduced the number of, we had no idea when our appointment was. You have pre-check-in, you know when it is. Kate, who works with Topeka, shared that on their day one of their new practice acquisition, they had never trained their families on pre-check-in, and it was enabled, and families just started doing it because it was so easy and intuitive and they knew how to use the portal, that she's sitting there working with them and they're like, what's the orange clipboard? And she's like, oh, they're doing pre-check-in. You haven't even told them yet. So they were successfully pre-checking in from day one without really any additional education from the practice. Erin, one of our amazing CAs who works with Eastern, shout out Eastern if you're in the room, she shared that if they have families that show up at the front desk and they have not completed pre-check-in, they just do it with them right there. And they're not the only practice that does that. If people have their mobile device, their phone, you can just say, you're ready to go with pre-check-in, so why don't we just do it here together, or sit down in the waiting room and complete it. We have some practices that are requiring portal enrollment and requiring completion of pre-check-in, just like we're doing this now, kind of gently pushing people in that direction. They noted it's really helped to drive patients to the portal for more things. They're doing a lot more communication through portal messages, it's kind of naturally encouraged families to use the portal more. Less time on the phone allows them to focus more on the patients who are at the desk in front of them, and that just leads to a better experience for everybody at the office. Jerry, who works with Southwest Children's Center, shared they are a practice that's tried to really make it mandatory that everybody does pre-check-in. They have folks sit in the waiting room and complete it if they haven't done it, and they have noted it's significantly helped with gathering insurance information and just reminding their staff, you gotta get that copay on the data service. All the other stuff is already done, so your focus is greet them when they come in, make them feel welcome, and take the money. So yeah, nice work everyone that's got set up on pre-check-in already. Amazing work everyone in this room for being interested in pre-check-in. I think it sounds like a lot of legwork leading in, and there's some stuff you have to look at, but I think you will find if you move forward with getting this set up for your practice, it will really make your lives easier, and hopefully make your family's lives easier too. Thanks everybody. Any other questions? Awesome, thank you.